Regular school board meeting. We'll begin the meeting with a pledge of allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. So, first item on the agenda is public comment. Does anybody have public comment? I don't see any.
It's extra points.
Extra points, right? Next on the agenda is we have an open position for the school board, and we have a candidate who'd like to say a few words tonight. Marty, would you please approach?
Hi.
Thank you for coming, Marty.
Thank you.
Your interest.
So, I'm interested because I'm pretty involved in the school district, beginning when my kids were in preschool up through now they're in 6th grade. And I've been on committees, I've been on the PTA, I've subbed, so I think this is just kind of the next step to, first of all, get me out of my comfort zone, which is nice, and challenge. So, thought it'd be nice, and hopefully I can help out any way I can, and
Thank
be
you.
the voice of Newmarket schools and
Great.
watch children succeed.
Any questions?
Marty, if I remember correctly, you served on the superintendent search committee recently.
Yes.
What were some things that you saw sort of as a highlight of your service there?
Information collecting was just pretty intense, actually. A lot of learning about the candidates and then asking them questions and learning different aspects of the job that the new superintendent, which obviously Susie now, would be performing, and just the way the whole committee worked together and some challenges, and it was just an interesting experience, one that I really enjoyed. So that's what led me to apply for this.
Can you repeat everything you just?
Take it from the top.
Just kidding.
Thank you.
No, that's all right. That's okay. Any other thoughts, questions? Marty, I want to thank you so much for doing this. We didn't have. There was one other candidate who originally submitted, and the candidate had to withdraw. So Marty's our only candidate. We're going to take a vote later on in the meeting. But
Did we
thanks.
get a chance to think about it?
Yeah, we're going to think about it. Yeah. So, thank you, Marty.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Taylor,
Yeah,
you're up.
yeah. So it was a very exciting week for soccer at Newmarket High School. The boys and girls varsity are both going to the state championships this weekend, which is super exciting. The girls won their semifinals game today, 3-0 against Woodsville. The boys won their semifinals game a little earlier on in the week against Littleton, 2-0. The games will be November 10th at 10 a.m. for girls, and then boys will play at 4:15. Boys will be playing against Sunapee, but it's still unknown who the girls will be playing. I think will be decided. Well, it will be figured out tonight. And then Newmarket Eats is Sunday night. It's from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. and it benefits the Newmarket Community Education Partnership. So that's exciting. National Honor Society is volunteering. So if you go, you get to see some students. So the quarter ends actually tomorrow as well. And Monday, many high school teachers moved into their new rooms, which is super exciting. Some students helped out, which was really cool. And many students received new lockers, which was also exciting. They're full size, which we've never had before. So yeah, that's our report.
Thank you, Taylor. All right. Do you have some other commitments?
Yeah, I have some other commitments, so I'll have to leave. But
Thank you for
Well,
that.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And school committee reports. We just had just before this at 5 o'clock. It should be on Channel 13. We had a joint school board building committee meeting, and we went over several things. We sort of started from the beginning of how the project was funded, what's occurred to date in terms of expense, summarizing everything, And also taking a look ahead at what we may have between now and the end of the project in terms of expense. This we started the demolition recently of the last part of the renovation at the high school. It's the old 1920s section of the building, and that will take place. The construction on that should wrap up substantially by April. But we talked about the status of the budget, if there are any sort of contingency items that should arise, how we would fund those between now and April. And also, we discussed, we've mentioned it here before, but the bond money is invested, so it's been earning interest. The construction bond money, which was originally about $39 million. So that's earned interest, and to date there's approximately $650,000 of interest in there. Now, that money would, if we were to use it as part of the project, it needs to be part of a warrant article for the town to approve in March. And we went through, and people can see it in the materials, a prioritization process that included items we've been calling ad alternates that we considered at the beginning of the project. Items that we think we really needed that were to deliver the program, but which we could put off until we kind of saw how the budget shook out. So there was that category, and then Susan this fall went through a process where she got input. You know, we've been in the buildings now for a little while. Okay, how is it to actually live in those, and what are we still missing? So we went through that process and went through a list of things that we prioritized that we would like to ask the town to free up that bond interest in March so we can use it for those items. It was a very productive meeting. I encourage people to watch it. All the materials should be up online. As far as the actual construction, we're still on time, on budget, and they're doing the roof right now over the what's going to be the cafetorium. That should wrap up in about a month's time. And then the cafetorium, this is kind of exciting, on the current schedule should be ready to occupy sometime in December. So really not that far off. So that's a huge milestone. I can't wait to get in there and see what that looks like. It'll be a great space for everybody. We also talked about, getting folks in there. We've talked before about maybe doing it when everything's done in April or May. But it may make some sense, since we will be proposing a warrant article, to have folks in there before that so they can actually see, the buildings as far as long as they got. And we may consider doing that maybe sometime in March, so we can get folks into both buildings and, see what's happened. So that is it on that, in terms of a building committee report. Anything from budget?
Nothing.
Nothing. Okay. And then Susan, your report.
Yes, so I have a couple of items that I wanted to mention tonight. Piggybacking off of Taylor's report, on Monday we took advantage of the opportunity to provide some additional programming for kids while some of those teachers moved into their new spaces. So we had an assembly-style program that included topics that were germane to 21st century students. So we began the day with a little presentation on opioids that was presented by a family who lost 2 of their children from that epidemic, and that was followed by a segment on bullying, which is something, of course, that we talk about all too frequently today. And the Army presented that, so they came in, they have a curriculum on that, and then they did some interactive things with the students after that to get them up and shaking and moving around a bit. And then we rounded out the afternoon with some ALICE training. So, as we move forward, of course, we have drills and all of those things sprinkled throughout the year, and we took advantage of this day to be able to do a little refresher with students on, some of those techniques and strategies should we ever find ourselves in the position that we have to lock down. They know what that terminology means, shelter in place, and some of the strategies they could employ should we get into a situation where we would need to, follow those kinds of protocols. So that was wonderful. I think it was a good day for kids, and at the same time, staff were moving in. Obviously, we couldn't run an academic program that day when 11 of our high school teachers, which represented, a good chunk of our faculty, was moving into their space. So it was wonderful to be able to provide kids with some learning opportunities while the teachers got settled, so that we could begin on Tuesday. Inviting them into these new classrooms, and great feedback from teachers, a lot of appreciation, to our custodial staff and facilities department for all of the work that they did over the weekend to get things in place and ready for kids to join us on Tuesday. So that was one update I wanted to mention. We will be having 2 other opportunities where we'll be introducing some of these topics to students in either a conference-style program or, town meeting-style assembly program. The next one we're planning will be in December. It'll be an all-day activity, and we'll talk about, again, diversity, fake news, sexual harassment, all of that type of, those kinds of programs that as young adults, start to grow and develop, it's important that we have these kinds of conversations with them to help them navigate the world that they're living in today. So we're very excited to start working on that. And then the last leg of this building project, of course, we're going to have one more opportunity to shift gears again and move into the final phase of this, and we'll provide a third all-day program, for students that are on these, social emotional learning topics, so that we'll feel like we've gotten 3 days of some curriculum introduced into our high school this year. Also, at the junior high level, they're introducing some programming there, some SEL programming there in the 7th grade. And so we're really excited to be able to offer those kids some support that's, helps them to ramp up to these higher expectations that we have academically and socially, to be good citizens in our world and within our learning community. So that's a lot of exciting things. I did visit a number of classrooms. I do every week, and was able to enjoy some lessons on respect and gratitude, that the elementary school teachers were providing for the kids. So it's all really good stuff, because we want to create a safe and environment for kids, and that we need to be able to tell them what our expectations are and help them to be able to identify their feelings, and give them strategies for how to negotiate sometimes situations that we encounter in life that are not necessarily we'll say pleasant and happy. So it was wonderful to see all of this programming being delivered to our kids over the course of this week. A second item I wanted to mention was that we have an interim business administrator who will be joining our staff. I couldn't be any more excited. Marie comes to us with many, many, many years of experience. Not only that, she was a resident of the district, and her kids graduated from school here. So I'd like to invite you to join us up here, Marie D'Agostino, and she'll be with us for the rest of the year, and helping us through the transition of finding ourselves a permanent replacement. Marie retired from Summers, and works at Wakefield now on a part-time basis. And so we have just a tremendous resource, that will be with us to help us throughout this year and put this upcoming budget together. So thank you very much, Marie, for joining us, and glad to welcome her on our staff. And then last, I had mentioned, perhaps maybe informally before, but we have a NEASC review, an upcoming NEASC review, and it was originally scheduled to begin this year at the junior senior high school, and I had written a letter to the NEASC board. So this is, they come in and they do an evaluation of your junior, senior high school and make recommendations. It's a very involved process. And I had written a letter to their council and asked if we could postpone that for 1 year because, one, it requires time, attention, professional development time for teachers to be able to do a self-assessment, and it also costs money. And this is just not something that I felt we should be focusing on in the middle of a building project with all the transition that we're going on. It wasn't the right thing to do for kids. It wasn't the right thing to do for staff. And I was informed last week that they have honored our request to postpone that for another year. So we'll build that into next year's budget, and I'll be announcing that to staff, in the upcoming week. But I wanted to make you aware that we would be postponing our NEASC review and evaluation for another year. So we'll be commencing that work next year. But at least we had an overview of coming attractions, and staff are aware of what those criteria will be. So that's not a bad thing either. So that is my report.
Great, thank you. So we, down to our list of discussion items, are there any, well, first of all, any questions? Good, okay. So, the first item on is the 8th grade overnight field trip. Thank you for sharing about this with us tonight. Appreciate it.
Very nice. I'm Lindsay Mosmer. I'm the 8th grade science teacher.
And I'm Nicole St. James. I teach 8th grade language arts.
And we're here obviously requesting the board's approval for our annual 8th grade overnight trip. It's going to be 3 days and 2 nights again, but we have a brand new location that we've already checked out and we're very excited about. So to new beginnings, right? So it's at Camp Hudkins this year. It's in Freedom, New Hampshire. It's actually a YMCA camp. The facility is beautiful. It's exactly what we're looking for. It has a beautiful lake. They have mountain bikes we can use. They have a whole craft building for the kids to do. Tons of space and activities just in case it rains. Cross your fingers it doesn't, but just in case. It has tons of alternatives. And even better than the facility is the cost is even less. So it's $105 per student plus transportation, and then $55 for adults. And we're hoping that all 89 students are going to attend this journey with us. And the dates are going to be June 10th to June 12th.
So I am a huckster. Yes, Jody. Did you meet Jody? She's the director.
No, we met
Okay.
the cat.
Yes.
Jody was my counselor. That's how long ago it was.
Oh, really?
So when I saw this, I was so excited for you guys because it is beautiful and it's perfect. And I thought, oh, why didn't we think of this before?
I know.
So I'm so glad you found it, and I'm thrilled.
Well, and even more exciting news, the people who run it are so great with communication, the chefs on staff, like all the time, so food is not going to be an issue this year. And we went, and all 4 of us just left, like 5, that's right, 5 left,
Perfect.
just sighing with relief. It just seemed
Great.
really, really great.
Yeah.
Great.
And it's a quick drive.
Yeah.
So quick.
Not too bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's easy.
And no cell service.
No cell service, even better.
No.
Yeah. Excellent.
You have to have a specific
Well,
phone,
that's awesome.
and you have to stand in a certain spot.
Yeah,
Yeah, Arch.
Yeah.
It'll be a state secret.
great. Won't tell them till you get there.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're just looking for an approval.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
If there are any further questions, no questions? If there are no further questions, we have it, do we have it down here?
Yep, approval, first.
Yeah, so we'll
we're gonna wait.
take that up under action items, but thank you so much for taking time on a weeknight to tell us about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really excited.
Mike, I'm
Yeah.
wondering if we can amend the agenda just this once to vote so that if they want to leave for the evenings, they don't have to stay.
Yeah, they wouldn't have to stay anyways, but we will amend the agenda, and we will, may I have a motion?
I make the motion to accept the 8th grade overnight trip.
Yes.
Second.
No, any further discussion? If none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
It's approved, thank you.
Thank you so
And now
much.
when you come back too, to tell us about the trip, you have to perform one of the songs. That's all.
We'll bring it.
Yeah.
I'm making a policy right now.
Thank you.
All right. Elizabeth,
Oh,
there's
yes.
an article. She has no.
There's two articles actually, which is, anyways.
So this is our continuing series of, how to strengthen in our relationship amongst us and with the superintendent, which is key, right, for where we're headed.
So Kim and I were just having this discussion. I think what we've been so lucky with is we have been such a cohesive board. We don't always agree, but the one thing I have enjoyed was learning how to communicate better with people. And I think we're only stronger now because of this. But when I started reading this first article, the first thing that pops out is the average superintendent lasts 3.2 years. So we're right on schedule.
Thanks.
Hopefully not anymore.
It's like the average NFL running back.
You know, so I read that and I thought, well, what hope do any of us have? But then you read the whole article, and basically everything that we've been building up to right now, everything that this board, past, present people, I would say in the past 5 years, we've been trying to do is build that stronger relationship with our superintendent. And I do see, when I read it, I did find things that we have been pretty consistent on. Then I found a lot that
It's true.
we probably could,
That's
we
why we're
could do
doing
a
it.
better
Yeah.
job at.
Yeah, that's good.
One of the things that we've talked about and we have been doing the last 2 months is putting our vision in place. And with a board with a vision, has a stronger board, has a student population with higher scores, higher just achievement, right? They just want, they feel better about themselves. Teachers feel better about themselves. So that's the one thing that I want to work on, just so that, but that's the, so it goes back to saying the critical point is at the beginning of our relationship with Susan, which, again, we're having all these meetings, we're having the retreats, we're discussing everything. One of the things we're discussing, where's the district going? And then the other thing we always do, have been doing, the district must inform and engage all stakeholders in the process, which, again, we've worked so hard on to keep be transparent. It talks about school boards must lead. The most successful districts are boards that unite with their superintendent, stand together. One of the things they talked about was embrace your role as a trustee. We're elected here now, let us do our job. Less successful districts are the ones where the board are not aligned with their superintendent. We know this as a fact as well. So we talked about strategic plan. We've obviously put that off just so we can get things done, get our board settled. But that's one of the things, student learning achievement is a top goal, whatever that achievement looks like for each student. I added that myself, because not every student's gonna go to college, not every student wants to go to college, but it's our job to make sure that they have all ability to reach whatever goal they want to be successful, right? We know this too, communication is key, as well as understanding our roles as board members. Do you create a policy to start when a new member comes in? We're going to create a policy to start that opening.
Onboarding.
Orientation
Yeah.
process.
That happens at the end of the day for me, which is why I don't do this. All right, so my bottom line for that article was the strength and stability of the school board affects the student performance. And without us being aligned, we can't help the buildings. The 5 strategies that can improve board relations. Embrace the role of trustee, and then operate effectively in the trustee mode. Communication, engage all stakeholders. That's okay. So my second article talks, go ahead.
I just wanted to add something to the first one, which I think that they point out, and I think it's
important for us to recognize that just because we're working together in a collaborative way and we want to be aligned, doesn't mean that we're always going to agree
Really
on
good point.
everything, and
Yeah.
that we're not of one mind, and I feel that I can give my opinion even if it's not everybody's opinion, and that I'll be heard. So I think that's something that I want to make sure we see the distinction between being aligned and working together,
No, it's really
and
good.
not a group think. We're not talking about a
Right.
group think kind of situation. So.
And again, I
I-
think in the past 2 years, that's what this board has done. We've had a 5-0. We've had a 4-1. And it's, sometimes you have to stand your truth, right? And understand, I'm not going to agree with that, I don't agree with it. Doesn't mean I don't respect any of you, but I need to say no.
But that we have a culture that we feel comfortable and encouraged to do so.
Yes.
And that, that it's, I think, Susan, you've said this before, it's being sort of focused and hard on the issues, but not on the people. And we absolutely should, have open debate. And one other thing about the first article, it's sort of a recurring theme, is sort of altering in our minds what the paradigm is of our relationship with Susan, our superintendent, that it's not she's here and we're here. We have different roles, but as a team, we gotta be together. We gotta, we have our role as a board, and it's, among other things, it's to set policy, right?
Okay.
But that's not in isolation, because we're not the education professional, and so we rely on Susan to do that. We're also, we're trustees, but we're also liaisons in the community. And Susan is gonna rely on us as team members to do that sort of outreach. And
Right.
so it's not it's getting away from the notion of just simply employee-boss relationship. That's not functional. That's not effective, I should say. And it's more of a team approach. That's what I've been taking away, not only from that article, but all the readings we've been doing
Right.
on this.
I think for me, sort of touching on what Jen had said a minute ago, one of the things that I've benefited from and continue to is, in this 6-person team that we have, different people's perspectives. I mean, Susan as the educational leader is going to give us perspective, then Elizabeth with her experience in town is different. Mike, you as a lawyer, and it really helps me shape what my views are, and there have been times when I've been sort of singularly focused in one direction, and then someone makes a clarifying point that is completely valid and allows me to look at things in a different way, and it's great, because I think when we have those robust conversations and get to the votes, people feel like they've been heard, and that they are either supporting or not based upon their an informed decision, and I think that we all benefit from that.
I mean, you try to throw together your notes, but as I'm writing this, my head's spinning, thinking, okay, we're on a good track. Okay, so before reading the other one, the second article, I was like, okay, so now we've improved that building. Now we're gonna start on the inside. And we've done the CBA, we're negotiating other contracts. We are trying to make people in the building, inside the building happy, right? So, this board is learning about our roles and working with Dr. Gibbons on maintaining communication and understanding how the policies govern our district. And why they're important. I mean, you read them all. Okay, and the other thing we've done is transparency for the community. This involves communication, updates on the building, inform all stakeholders throughout the process, which we just spent 2 hours today doing. And so everybody understands where that money went, what we feel is necessary, what has to be taken care of now.
And why.
And why. And it's down to the money, and understanding, we all knocked on wood when we're doing that last bit of that building. But having Ekman say to us, we're almost done and we're comfortable, we feel good. That must make half this town who thought we were gonna find buried treasure in that building feel so much better. Moving forward, we have a vision, so that's what we've been doing with our retreats, having the visions and putting them together. One of the things that talked about was having that onboard training, having a policy in place. Having a community meeting, so couple of us sit down here, town council, budget meeting, this is what our roles are, this is what we do. We need people to step up. So how do we encourage that? Instead, they see us all going, oh, we have another meeting, and we're all frazzled, and we've been running with our hair caught on fire. Let's talk about what we have. This is what our commitment is. These are the committees that you have to be on. And maybe it won't be such a scary thing to come on to the board. And then we help Dr. Gibbons leave. Now, as you can see, my notes are all over the place, because I had to do this. Yep, that's it. That's all I got.
Yeah, thank you so
Thank
much.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. So, fund balance status,
Oh, actually, I did have a whole different thing. Those are
is that the next one?
Yes,
better notes.
so, again, grateful that Marie is with us. She was able to assemble a report for you that's may be familiar to you or maybe not. It's, I guess, a standard report that helps you to better understand how you closed out your year in FY19. So, of course, the auditors will come and do a presentation in a couple of weeks and all of that. They're finishing things up. But reports go out to the Department of Education, perhaps Department of Revenue. And so this is kind of a summary of your primary funds. So your general fund is your general operating budget, probably a term familiar to you. And this report tells you that when you entered the year, you had just a little less than $800,000 that you brought forward. That our revenues last year were $19,841,112, and that our expenditures were $19,530,000. So when you take all of the, the fund balance you brought forward, the revenue you took in, and the expenses, then that left you with an ending balance of 1.1 million. And so this, all this information goes forward to the state. And when we talked earlier about that 2.5% that we're able to kind of hold back, that balance of 1,110,000, that's baked into that number. So Marie perhaps can explain in greater detail, the meaning of that. Certainly she is far more qualified to do so than I am.
There you go.
So I'll turn the floor over to Marie.
Thank you for welcoming me to the community, and hopefully I'll be able to help out. Of the $1.1 million, the 2.5% assessment that the community voted to set aside for next year is approximately $412,000. And bills that had to be paid in the subsequent year, so invoices we hadn't received yet, but for work that had been done in the month of June, equaled approximately $158,000. So what is being returned of the 1.1 million, what is being returned to reduce taxes is approximately $538,000. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me. I'm sorry, I wasn't prepared to give that. But if you add the 412, the 158, and the 538, it should come pretty close to the $1.1 million. And then you also have to include, what you have to do with, yes, the total of those three should be close to the 1 million. So, excuse me, because I'm new to the district. I don't know how the district has done that in the past. I just got forwarded an email from Mary, the other interim business administrator. She got a notice from the New Hampshire Department of Revenue, and there's a form that is required to be signed to hold on to the $412,000. I don't know how this district has done it in the past. If the school board needs to, if that's past practices, the school board needs to vote to hold that. And then if so, I don't know if the school board chair, each district does it differently. That's why I don't know how it's done here. So I don't know if it's the school board chair that signs on that, or signs off on that form, or is delegated to the superintendent of schools.
Yeah, I thought it was the school board chair, Marie, and I do recall we did take a vote on it.
We did take a vote.
Yeah, so,
So we
Yes.
have, the form was just voted to me tonight.
okay.
So, the Newmarket tax rate cannot be set unless the Department of Revenue has that signed form.
Yep.
So, I don't, I forwarded you the email, if you want to, if you have a way, Dr.,
Would the
Give-
would the timing work out if we vote on it at our next meeting in 2 weeks, or?
well, again,
Yeah.
that's pending setting the tax rate for the town, so
Is it something we could take action on tonight?
it's up to the board. What I'm asking, is the superintendent could actually open up the email, I don't know if you have access to it from here, and then I could go run upstairs and get the form, and then you could look at it and see.
Well, we could do that if you wanna grab it. We can take action on it tonight. Yeah, for sure. Thank you, Marie. Yeah.
I don't have access yet, I don't have access, but the superintendent does.
Marie is just
Just
joined-
walked in.
Walked into the,
She came in on Saturday and worked with
Yes.
me, and I really
Thank you
appreciated
for-
that.
jumping right on that.
Okay,
Yeah.
The amount, I can read the amount.
okay, perfect.
Okay, the amount is $412,893. That would represent 2.5%.
Thank you.
Is that what they have to vote specifically?
Yes, if they're going
Okay.
to retain that, if they're going to continue to retain that.
Okay, so I guess you could take action
So
then.
I seek a motion to approve the retention at 2.5%, which equals $412,893 for this budget year.
So moved.
I'll second.
Any discussion? None? All those in favor, please say aye,
Aye.
and I can sign it.
Superintendent, you see superintendent, she'll be able to print the form off and you can
Great.
sign it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the others are your other primary funds, and so your food service fund, beginning balance was positive, and I suspect as a result of the building project last year, you had a decline in revenue because you didn't have access to your kitchens and all of that, so I wouldn't be overly alarmed by the fact that you had a year of revenues that did not meet and cover all of the expenses, but we did close that fund in the red by $4,656. So hopefully, in this upcoming year, we'll make progress towards closing that, in the black. So the next series of funds are the federal projects. So this is grants. My understanding is this is grants. And again, you can read through this. We closed the year, again, in the positive $63,473. Your capital project fund, so this was what we began the year with in terms of bond proceeds, and then what we took in for, revenues for the year. I suspect that that's your bond interest. And then your expenses, so that's what we paid out to the contractors and everybody through the building project. And we closed the year with $12,243,576 that we brought forward in July 1. And we continue to pay bills, through the building project. So that's a good thing. And then we have those trust funds. We had talked about that, and we'll talk a little bit more in a minute about the trust funds. But we have a variety of different trust funds, one for special education, one for IT or technology, one for facilities. And so at the beginning of the year, we had $726,890. We took in some interest income of $2,184. We had no expenditures out of any of those funds last year, and so we closed the year, this is FY19, with $729,074. So that's a summary of how, your performance last year, how you closed out, and again, in another couple of weeks, the auditors will come and give you your audited financial statements. So that is that report. And again, thank you to Marie for for pulling that together for tonight's meeting. The next report is kind of a FY20 fitness report is how I would refer to it. And it just gives you a summary by function of revenues and expenses. As you can see, your budget when you began the year was in balance, so you had anticipated $20,758,614 in revenue, and that would cover your expenses. The second column represents what we've received or expended to date. The third column represents, what we anticipate receiving in revenue from now until the end of the year, or the money that has been encumbered so far this year. And then it gives you a balance, so whether we're up or down on in a particular area, and then the percentage is the final column. So right now, it looks favorable in terms of revenue. If everything goes, as we see it today, then we would have unanticipated revenue by the end of the year of $237,580. Again, this is very early. This is as of October 30th. We still have the majority of the year to go, so that can change up or down. We had a presentation from Erica, our Student Services Director, at the last meeting regarding Medicaid, and you can see that we have a deficit there as a reflection of the change in the rules, the emergency rules that were enacted in August. We're not going to be in as bad a shape as other school districts because we had some billing in the month of July and August before the rule changes that brought in about $100,000. If we didn't have that, then we would really be in much worse shape, and most school districts around the state did not benefit from being able to collect some revenue in July and August. So that was very favorable for us, but next year when we build the revenue budget, of course, we would probably be anticipating more, about $30,000 for the year based on current emergency rules that are in place. On the expenditure side, I'll just point out that the big deficit here that's showing under the SAU is because we encumbered all of the health, dental, life insurance benefits all under the SAU account, but when the expenditures are made to pay the invoices, then the expenses are filtered out to the various functions. But just in order to be able to have a better sense of where we really stand right now, I had asked our payroll and benefits person to encumber those items. So that's why it's not really in deficit. It's just, the encumbrance is reflected on one line, but the expenses are really budgeted for in all of the other function areas. So right now, this doesn't mean that we're running, under budget by 12%. So I don't want people to misunderstand that number. There's still, we just finished our first quarter. We still have 3 quarters left to go at the junior senior high school. We're only 45 days into our school year. There is more purchasing that's going to take place. There's more contracted services that we're going to have to access between now and the end of the year. What this tells us is that we haven't yet completed our spending plan for the year. We're not, concerned that we're going to overspend at this particular time. If worse came to worse, and I had to put on a spending freeze of some sort, then we ought to be able to close out the year, in the black. So you can't look at that and say, oh, we're going to have 12% left of our budget in the end of the year. No, we're just barely into the year, and we have, more life to live, so to speak, between now and then. But we're not seeing anything that's overly alarming right now in terms of expenditures being, wildly in the negative in any one particular direction. So I don't know if there's any questions that I can attempt to answer, but Marie?
I just want to inform the board that the budgeted revenue may change. It's probably going to change because these were estimates, and as you can see on the first where it says fund balance of $365,000, and that's the money that would be reduced in taxes, that's actually gonna be $538,000.
It's gonna be fire.
So, but, so those numbers may change, because when we set the tax rate, those amount may be a little different. So,
Yeah.
so that you're aware that, so those, I just noticed that when I looked at it today. So, because there's been updated revenues since the estimate was done, since it was budgeted, and I haven't delved in yet to see if those budget amounts were updated to what we anticipate going forward. Thank you.
So that is that.
So, in the materials from, it's in here, they were in the materials from the building committee meeting, joint meeting tonight. It was the items, for the warrant article for the bond interest. And, we were all there.
You want me to put them?
No, that's fine.
You sure?
Yeah, yeah.
The audience?
Yeah.
Okay. It's just right there.
Sure. So, it's a discussion item. What are the thoughts on this?
I found it to be a very well thought out process that, you know, from what we learned at the meeting, Susan had synthesized input from the buildings on all levels and looked at, you know, what the core requirements were and the most important items were. And those are the ones that are in this list. There was some discussion at the building committee meeting about asbestos removal that Elizabeth just alluded to, and soil stuff. And the sort of consensus from the building committee, as I heard it, was that the goal would be to address those issues before any of these are addressed, if need be, but that this was a well thought out and thorough list.
Again, I think the transparency that the building committee has had, this board has had, makes it clear what this article is about and why it's a need.
I think we get back to our whole education process again. I think, you know, we need to determine with the warrant article what the verbiage is so that we can, you know, make the necessary changes, not be bound to specific things if there are other requirements. But I think that people going into the voting booth need to understand what the thoughts are, why these were chosen, the process that was gone through, just that education process that we've been in the process of doing for these past few years again, to just help them understand it.
Right. I won't go through all the substance of the items that are up on the slide right now. That we went over those in some detail during the joint meeting earlier this evening. But what I would say, Kim, you just alluded to it too, is that there's a couple of things that we need to consider as a practical matter. There will likely need to be, you know, two warrant articles here, one for the trust funds that are indicated on there, a separate one, and then one for the remaining items. And what we need to consider, and we should need to consult with council on, is the actual language of this. So it allows us some flexibility if perhaps there's some, you know, as you said, like some additional asbestos work or the you know, DES issue with the McGrath property in terms of soil removal. We need to understand what flexibility, because we don't know what those are now. And we're not gonna know necessarily until we keep opening up parts of the building and also hear from the Department of Environmental Services on that issue. So, what I would suggest, you know, this sort of consensus tonight, I don't know, we don't really need to take a vote, but we take it to the next level and perhaps work with council and draft up a proposed warrant, which is something then we can move upon. And the deadline being in December, maybe that's something we can if feasible, time-wise, we could put on the agenda for the next meeting.
Mike, one thing that I thought of in the meantime between the two meetings, you know, you mentioned earlier about having people come in, and I don't know where the deliberative session is taking place this year, but if it's taking place at the gym, that might be the perfect time to allow people to go into the buildings when we're talking about in the presentation what the money would go for. It's just a thought that I had.
That's a great thought. Actually, I wonder if there's capacity to hold it in the new cafetorium.
Oh, I can't remember who was first last year. Is it town or school that was first? I think we're first this year.
So it's just a way to sort of kill two birds with
Yeah.
one
That's a great
stone.
idea.
Yep. Yeah, we had conversations about having students there to give tours of the building at the deliberation sessions that we would be hosting at the high school.
yeah.
So, I don't, when I had spoken to Steve, he had requested the gymnasium, and I don't know if that's because of simple size. I don't,
Could be.
having not been through it here before, I don't know if it's an issue of.
Could be
That's
just,
the typical, like, that's
Yeah.
where
Yeah,
we always
but we
right.
could certainly do
Yeah.
the cafetorium if there's space. I don't know what his thinking was, but he had asked for the gymnasium, so
Okay.
either's fine, but we can have the kids give tours of the building to the
Yeah.
extent that we can get into, the various sections.
I think we're going back to what Elizabeth talked about earlier in terms of getting input from all the stakeholders. We have people who are very proud of what they're seeing happening, and I think they're going to be even more excited when they get in the doors and see what's happening on the inside.
and we should take some pride as, and I would just, again, thank the building committee for all their work and all the board members that worked on this along the way, is that, we're not done the project, so let's not, if we're superstitious, let's not get ahead of ourselves, but to be where we are on this complicated of a project is pretty outstanding, and the items that we see here on this slide are items that are very much needed to enhance the program. They're not simply, things that we don't really need, and there was a painstaking process to arrive at these, and a lot of work behind the scenes, and crediting, you, Susan, for that, to have the wisdom to sort of stop, take a breath, get everybody's input. It's important that everybody, once they were in these spaces and they actually experience them, that they, that we're able to offer input and, what things may be missing, and that's what we have here. I mean, like, for instance, the suspended ceilings in the science labs. It's difficult to know. These are new science labs up at the junior, senior high school. It's difficult to know until you get into a space and actually use it, how it's going to function. And what we learned quickly is that, there's no suspended ceiling in there. It's the acoustics are challenging, and so to really deliver the program, we've got these nice new spaces, but we just need to be able to hear, without, in our indoor voices, not yelling. And so that's what that's all about, and that's just one example of, things, and, the light dimming. We've all been in rooms where, the glare is like, it's overbearing. So, again, I just went against what I just said. I'm not gonna go through every one of these, but there was extensive discussion in the last meeting, and I'm proud of how we got here, in terms of these, so that, everybody sort of had a voice. We didn't, there were tons of asks and stuff, but, we went through a good process to make sure that we're using money wisely.
Mike, can I add one more point?
Yeah.
I just wanted to, and I alluded to this at the groundbreaking, whenever that was a bit ago, but I want to thank you for all the work and time that you dedicated to this process, starting from facilities committee till today. We wouldn't be here without it, so we appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So, that is, I think that the consensus is we draft up some language, and maybe if we can get it done by next, consider it for next meeting, maybe we take a vote then.
Yeah.
Great. All right. So we're down to action items. We need to look at our minutes of October 17, 2019, public and non-public. And would somebody make a motion to approve those minutes?
I will make a motion to approve those minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Were there any corrections or additions, deletions? None? Sarah, thank you again for an awesome job on the minutes. Appreciate it. It's a lot of work. And no questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous? Then we have manifest. Kim, you want to tackle that?
Sure. I move that we accept the total of all manifests of $2,372,792.78.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Moving on to the, Susan, the short throw projector request.
So once we open the final section of the building, we will need 5 short-throw projectors to install in those classrooms. And so what we would like is your approval to access the Technology Trust Fund to procure those 5 items, and that would be at an estimated cost of $13,000.
That's for the 2019-20
5
section?
section,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
I'll make a
Can you
motion.
Can you imagine what they would, like a short throw projector, like that was like, not even conceived of.
They
in
can't think of
1920.
half the stuff we're dealing with.
Right.
Electricity, they were just still getting used to. So, any discussion there? Okay, may I have a motion?
Motion to approve the $13,000 from the Technology Trust Fund to procure 5 short-throw projectors for the junior, senior high school.
Is there a second?
Second that.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, and next in the packet is a letter, follow-up to Erica McNeil's presentation to us, which I very much appreciated. I thought it was very well done.
Yes.
I always walk away smarter when she presents,
Yep.
so it's great. Has everybody had a chance to look at that? We
Yes.
talked about that at last meeting. We put that letter together, and I had nothing to do with it. I said I would do it, and I ended up just delegating, so.
It was great.
Yep.
My one small thing, and it's a minuscule thing, is should it be representatives in the DEER, since it's going to 3 people as opposed to just 1?
Sure. Yes, you're right. That is right.
But other than that, I thought it was well thought out and thorough and provided the data that I thought necessary
Yes.
to discuss this topic.
It does, and it also, in our record, it's a good summary for everybody in our community to read and see.
Good point.
And I think that, this information, if people were to get it from the website and use it as a basis for some things that they might want to write as citizens, because it's clearly discussed what the problem is, how we got to it, and what might be some solutions to it, and the impact that it's going to have on us as a community.
And we originally thought about sending it to the governor too. Was there some discussion on that, or?
Well, I can copy him. Do we want to copy him?
Yes.
Commissioner
it's really
Idle
important.
too. What's his name?
Edel.
Oh,
Edelblut.
Edelblut.
I couldn't remember.
There has been a response from the governor about, it was in the Portsmouth Herald. I should have copied it. If I can find it, I'll send it all to you.
And actually, I would wonder if we address it to the governor and copy our representatives.
That would be good.
That would be
That would be
good.
good.
So the other
Yeah.
way around?
We do that.
Okay.
That would be
yeah,
good.
Because they're the,
Yes.
yes.
And then Mike, you'll let us know when we need to come in and sign it or whatever.
I will I'll make the adjustments, and then when you come in next time to sign the warrants, you can sign it then, or if
Okay.
you want to get it out sooner?
If you have
I
it
mean-
ready to go Monday and I can come Monday after school.
Yeah, we can come in
Yeah,
sometime during the week.
Yeah.
okay,
Get it,
Let us
get
know.
it
All right.
right up, yeah.
sounds good.
As soon as it's done.
Thank you for preparing that.
That's great.
Well, if everybody's going to the, no, we wouldn't want to
Right.
do business at the Sunday night event, right?
Make you get this
Oh, that's right.
straight.
Yeah.
Our tickets are purchased.
All right. Okay, so, I guess we should take a motion to approve that letter with those changes. Basically, a motion to approve the letter to the Honorable Governor Sununu and copying our representatives with the change you noticed about representatives, Kim, and the different addressees.
So moved.
convoluted motion.
Second.
Okay, any further questions? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. All right. The next item is the request for child rearing.
Yes, so we have a teacher that went out on maternity leave and was scheduled to return. And she has requested that a child rearing leave to stay out for the remainder of the year, and I'm in full support of her request for leave. We have a teacher that has been subbing for her, who's done a terrific job. The kids love her. She's doing really good work, and she would be able to continue on. Obviously, I'd have to post and all of that, but I've had conversation with her, explained to her what the process would be, and so with your acceptance tonight, I will move forward with getting the posting out and getting her appointed. So there's no harm here, and I think it's a wonderful thing if she can take the additional time to be with her newborn child for a year. That would be a great thing, and like I said, we have a wonderful teacher that's stepped in
Perfect.
and is available for the rest of the year, so.
And I believe that that's a benefit available to them under the CPA.
Yes, now, as I posted, it wouldn't be, it would be a position for the rest of the
Right.
year. Yeah. So there would be benefits and all that available too.
So you need a motion for that?
I do believe I do.
I make a motion to accept the child rearing letter, leave
As described.
as described,
Any?
and the posting.
Okay,
And
gotcha. Any, a second?
I'll second that.
Any further comment or question? Thank you, Susan, for considering that. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous. And then impact fee request.
Yes, so last year, you had petitioned the town council to, for access to impact fees that had been collected as a result of expansion in the town. Since your last request, there's another $77,747 available to us through September, and with your approval, I can move forward with petitioning the town on your behalf for those impact fees.
And as we discussed earlier at the building committee meeting, there is a absolute need for those impact fees as they were designed to be used in terms of doing what we're doing now, in terms of expanding our school buildings, I should say. So and this makes a lot of sense to me. Again, it's akin to the process we did last year. Are there any questions or comments? If there are none, may I have a motion to approve that impact fee request resolution as drafted?
So moved.
Second.
If no further questions, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 It's unanimous. And then the nomination, I guess.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So you don't have a nomination request for Marie because Marie is being contracted through MRI. So that's through a contracted services. So the funds would reside right now in the salary line, but she is being contracted through MRI as a consultant, though is totally, for all intents and purposes, employed, would be employed here just through a different vehicle. So therefore, there's not a nomination for her, as I've signed the contract on your behalf to secure her services. But the other position you had authorized for me to move forward with is an interim senior administrator to help out in the central office. So as you know, we don't have an assistant superintendent. We have a part-time BA. There's lots and lots of work that needs to take place, and that hasn't really been, we weren't able to keep up with that work because you didn't have the staff in place to support the work that needed to be done. So we are behind in many ways, and not that this is going to get us all back to where we need to be, but certainly we'll never get there if we don't get additional help to support some targeted projects between now and the end of the year. So I was able to, we interviewed last week, and I'm bringing forward a candidate who has a lot of experience in different roles, including principal, assistant superintendent, curriculum coordinator, though this is not targeted to work on curriculum per se, but grants, we're talking about grants, we're talking about some targeted work in onboarding and induction programs and mentoring programs to pull that together as we gear up for being on cycle for our hiring in this upcoming year. We need to have ways to support teachers and staff as they come into our organization to ensure their success. And so there's work that we need to get done in anticipation of this next hiring cycle. And so it's projects like that. Hearings, we've had quite a number of hearings in the last couple of months. This will take some of the pressure off of Eric and I. We're the only two people available to do that, and our jobs are more than full-time, but they still have to be done. And so this will give us, kind of a person that can handle some of those things as they arise to help us stay focused on some of our teaching and learning responsibilities moving forward in the year. So her name is Patricia Kinsella, and she will be starting December 1st. So that is our recommendation for that interim position.
Any questions or comments?
Susan, I'm looking at the nomination form, and I'm assuming that she's certified to fill the role in New Hampshire. Just 'cause that's my thought.
She's actively seeking
Okay.
that, but we're not hiring an assistant superintendent,
Right.
so, yeah.
Okay.
So she doesn't need that level of certification
Okay.
in order to.
But I'm sure it
And
would-
we targeted that way, because there's a lot of people that could do these types of things that don't have to, I'm not looking for curriculum, I'm not looking for them to do the
Okay.
other pieces of what an assistant superintendent would traditionally do. It's really targeted project work that's at this level. Somebody
Right.
that needs to understand building level administration, but SAU level administration in a variety of different, whether it's personnel, some certainly professional development, mentoring and things like that, so,
Okay,
yep.
thank you.
Any other questions? Comments? If there's none, may I have a motion to appoint or nominate the proposed interim senior administrator?
So moved. I'll second that.
If there are no further questions, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. And, all right, we're at the end of our action items. Marty, this was a test. Your eyes are still open. You passed. All right, left you to last. Marty was gracious enough to submit to fill the board vacancy, which will last until March, as per policy, and then we'll go to a regular election. But I'd like, if there's any questions or comments, let's talk about it. But I would heartily and happily seek a motion to appoint Marty as an interim board position.
So moved.
Second
Second.
that. I'll second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Welcome aboard, Marty.
Aye.
Thank you.
Good to have you with us.
Yes, very much so. Do we still have occasion for?
Nope.
Okay. There is no occasion for non-public session tonight. Our next meeting will be on November 21st. I think is that Thanksgiving? No, that's a
No.
week before.
Yeah.
All right. All right. So,
Because I'm not coming.
and
I would be here.
we already had a non-meeting tonight earlier, so that was taken up earlier. So is there any other matters?
I think, do you guys need anything signed, or do you need a picture?
Need a picture?
That's all we have to do.
All right, let's do that. Come on.
Budget workshop next week, though, right?
Marty, you might come out. You're here.
Yes, we do. I don't think so. I think
I thought we had one on the 21st. Let me look.
it's our next meeting.
Is it gonna be in the part of the meeting?
That's the, yeah.
You're gonna show the picture of us?
Joseph, I didn't recognize you.
Where did you go with the
Oh
picture?
my God, you're not so little anymore. Jeez.
No, you're good.
Nah,
You're good. It's a
I'll
good
stand
thing.
behind him.
You're blocking.
Yeah, we don't mind.
Don't worry, I'm fine.
We're good.
He's very tall.
I know. I don't know what happened.
Everybody's happy, right?
Oh, yeah.
Good job.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
So, yes, we are adjourned.